that we've been hearing from even speak that the sheer number of individuals who are deciding to be a part, heads of state from the West African sub-region and then other parts of the continent and then the rest of the world, perhaps should be a
count and sembebre. See the sika dosopo and a kokra and coco. Ye the sika dosopo and a kokra tomatoes, banchi. And no more I can about my Ghana mono. This 9th parliament. Amiye wuni say omona omabano ombeboa amasa no mano etuo etwa sade no etuo etwa every
coverage of these events and we're hoping that this will be one of them. The Asante Hene also leading that entourage there from the kingdom of Asante. Kofi Adams, the Member of Parliament for Boem, alongside other dignitaries and parliamentarians, also well seated, interacting as they also await the formal commencement of this historic presidential inauguration of John Dramani Mahama, the second time coming of him, just taking over from President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, alongside his Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who, by the way, is also there, and the phantom from band from the Ghana Dance Ensemble, well placed, as well as the other cultural troops, also display traditional regalia, dance, renditions of songs representing tradition, culture across Ghana for this very day. On your screens, and if you're just listening on 3FM 92.7, also those Noche dancers walking back, representing when the herds of the Volta region migrated from Noche in the present-day Togoland to Ghana, all be represented right here at the Blaster Square. Remember this coverage. We as a team, myself, Pakwesi, Nashoko, will be wrapping up, and then we have the next team also coming in. The fire chief officer also, as well as other officers of the Ghana National Fire Service seated. The Ghana National Fire Service also seated closely by leading officers of the police administration led by the IGP, as well as DCOP Yohonu. More importantly, other dignitaries from other African countries coming in. I can see President Ruto, William Ruto of Kenya, just having gotten down from his official vehicle for this auspicious event. And Dr. of these important dignitaries, especially the heads of state, what does it signify for us for this important day?
Yeah, I already said that it's just a sign of how Ghana have been able to maintain its diplomatic relations with other countries in Africa and beyond. And it is credit to all the regimes from the beginning of the Fourth Republic and beyond up to this day. So it is something that is testament of how we have carried ourselves as a nation, as a beacon of democracy, so they say in the continent. Yeah. So it's something that we all enjoy as a country. If we had reached a point where we are having an important occasion like this and nobody around us seems to show enthusiasm by attending, and then other partners outside of Africa, like the USA and Europe, are not paying attention to what we are doing, then we should be worried about how we have carried ourselves as a nation, both in terms of diplomatic relations with other countries and the benefits thereof.
Pagwif, we've come to a point in our democracy where it looks like, despite, I have to say, is it a rank cross election? We still have the presence of the vice president who outgone now, who was a presidential candidate of the MPP as well, and then former president John Ejakunku, all of them there, just trying to lend credence to the fact that we have a united front when it comes to our democracy, right?
It's a lot more solidarity. And for me, I must really commend the former president, John Ajekum-Kufuor, who is a statesman for this country, and also commend the outgoing vice president, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, together with the wife, the second lady, and to state that it's important that when we are done with our partisan political campaigning and trying to use that as a vehicle to come into a national office, when all of that is done, we are one people. And just to state that I'm glad that John Dramani Mahama is being given the support, because he didn't give this support in years past. You recall he didn't attend the swearing in of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in the 2021 swearing in. He didn't congratulate Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. I mean, but all of that is gone into history. But we should learn from these. These are statements that rallies the rank and file of the grassroots. I mean, when the grassroots sees this level of commandery, and I've always stated that we have a lot of peace amongst ourselves at a very higher echelon. So as politicians, you will see that I would exchange pleasantries with my opposite political person, MPP, NDC, CPP, and the likes. But if that does not trickle down to the grassroots, then we have a lot of admiration to go to. And I'm glad that this is happening. And so it clearly tells you that the rank and file of the New Patriotic Party is congratulating the president-elect John Dramani Mahama and the first female vice president, Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman. And we should all learn from this in the future. If you lose an election and you have to be part of it just for the nationalistic stake, I think that is critically very important.
And as Dr. Palgrave Bwachidankwa ends there, pomp and pageantry well represented in the short now. The Asantehene, his delegation, and also just representing why Ghana as a country, we have been able to unite across all fronts. But in certain times within elections, Professor Kobi Mensah, we take a look at sometimes some of those rank cross periods, we seem to think that the peace is just so thin, just on the other side.
I mean, the democracy is an adversarial game.
Yeah.
You know, it's a battle of ideas. And nowhere would you find democracy that you wouldn't find that kind of, so to speak, the rancorous, moments. Obviously, immediately the decision is made, everybody goes back to the table, and then we judge going forward to govern the country. So it is part of the, the entire, processes. You have to debate, in a manner that can win you the power, all right? And that actually brings tensions. But we should also be reflective of our structure, the social structure of this country, which obviously had contributed, to the kind of democracy or the kind of environment that we have. Don't forget, not every country participates in a very heated democratic practices and still keep the country, intact. There are countries that have gone through the democratic path, but they end up fighting, in terms of proper fighting. I mean, not this kind of choices of words, etc., but throwing blows and ending up, splitting the country in a manner that is not, expected of a democratic country. Don't forget, just in Cote d'Ivoire, recent memories tell us how, politics, in the name of democratic, engagement, actually, brought a very beautiful country to that level that we've never had before. I mean, I lived in Cote d'Ivoire sometime, and I loved the way it was, just to later on see that the country was in tatters, you wouldn't want to, see that. But you see, we have to give credit to our systems. These traditional structures are very important. Our social structures are very important. The other time, I just sent a piece, and I'm sure that maybe it will be asked tomorrow in the Daily Graphic about a very critical reflection of how Ghana's society has grown. And I was making references to the emergence of charismatic and Pentecostalism. All right, my argument. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Ali Nyaba, as well as Dr. Pagre Boachedankwa, Professor Kobe Mensah as well. But again, just to give you a recap, currently the motorcade of the president-elect, again, just being interspersed in the shots, but also a number of dignitaries already also arriving. You have he himself also coming onto the ground, John Dramani Mahama, already also Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, also with the entourage making themselves present, making their way onto the ground. But just by way of recap, to tell you that traditional regalia, well represented, your Tumfo Setu the second, the entourage, he's leading already on the ground there, making way to find their seats, as to be ushered, well coordinated by the committee alongside the State Protocols Department. And we also do know the king of the Asogli State, the Agbogbomafia, and we also have him coming in there. That's Togbi Afada, and we also have the Gamanche, King Taki Churu the second, also in there alongside the president of the National House of Chiefs, Ojiaoho Yaujebi. Now, apart from that, we have, as announced, a number of dignitaries who have come in, various heads of states, also representing their various presidents and governments across not only the continent, but also the world, all there. And President William Ruto, we just told you some few minutes ago, has already presented himself, arrived safely. And then Jacob Zuma, former president of South Africa, right here in Ghana. Alongside, we have the various heads of the various security services, not only the Ghana Armed Forces, the Ghana Police Service, the Ghana National Fire Service, and all of them ready, and the team who are leading the dispatch for the incoming president, the president to be sworn in, also having those live pictures being interspersed in this great coverage by TV3, 3FM 92.7, streaming live, and you can always now. Only the neighborhood, but the whole of Accra, also paying homage and then also host to this great event, but also unified by the other 15 regions across the country where you're watching TV3 and the rest of the world. But please know that you have to stay right here. TV3 Ghana, across social media, 3FM 92.7. The next team will take over, and the great event that we're bringing to you live from the Blaster Square will be brought to you with great information, with all the things that need to be known, the personalities who are there, the various heads of the institutions of Ghana and across the world who are there. Currently in the pics, we have the various heads of the Ghana Armed Forces, the Chief of Defense Staff, as well as the other ranking leading officers of the Ghana Armed Forces, as well as just close by the Ghana Police Service led by Dr. Ekufu Dampare, the IGP. And then just next to the police service, we have the Ghana National Fire Service. And the next team certainly will be taking over, bringing to you this live coverage. TV3, and then we also are informing you about all that you need to do by sharing our stream. Let us know what you think about this event. Blaster Square is where the main event is taking place, the presidential inauguration of John Dramani Mahama. So far, the Ghana Dance Ensemble have been giving to the attendees as well as viewers great renditions through their big phantom from drums and giving renditions of music. Also, we have big cultural troops, not only from the Ghana Dance Ensemble, but also various cultural groupings who also are making display of a number of activities. So far, we've had some interactions. Komla Kluche, Armstrong, all on the ground, giving to you vivid picture live with the dignitaries as well as the various heads from across the continent, not only president, but also those from the various parliaments of the continent, others also representing their various governments, and this is a sight to behold. The Ghana Police Service, the State Protocol Department, the National Security, making sure today is secured and well served to make sure that the security of state, the democracy for the Fourth Republic is well consolidated, well represented through this historic event. So far, a number of dignitaries in there, 21 heads of state, vice presidents, representing also various parliaments across the African continent and the world, all right here. Former President John Agyekum Kufuor. We also have the outgoing Vice President of the Republic, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who also in the last election was the presidential candidate of the NPP. He is there alongside the former second lady, or the outgoing second lady, Samira Bawumia. A number of important events also taking place alongside this very great event at the Blaster Square. Now, for the U.S. delegation sent by the U.S. President Joe Biden, it's led by Virginia Palmer, who is the resident ambassador representing the government of the United States, Virginia Palmer, and then also having representatives and from the Los Angeles Mayoral Office, and then also the U.S. Budgetary Office led by Shalanda Young, among others who are also at this great event. The European Union, they sent a delegation as well. You can find also in your pictures Akuya Sana Danswa, a former member of parliament for North Dying, and then other dignitaries also making their way onto the ground. The inaugural event for President-elect John Dramani Mahama.